After using this mug every day for a couple weeks, one of the two seals began to leak. There are complaints about this mug leaking from other customers, so the leaking is not because I modified the lid to make it more comfortable. The leaking appears to be due to low manufacturing tolerances, or a bad design, or both. The mug is supposed to seal in the liquids with these two semi-spherical rubber plugs. When you squeeze the handle, the rubber plugs are pushed away from the openings in the lid, and when you release the handle, the plugs are supposed to go back into the openings. However, one of them is no longer directly over the opening. When I shine a light behind it, you can see that light is coming through. If I push down on the plastic component that holds the assembly in the lid, then it seals tightly like it should. The rubber plugs were sealing the openings for several weeks, so why is there now a gap at one of the plugs? I pulled the components out of the lid, but nothing appears to be broken or worn out. So perhaps exposing the plastic parts to hot coffee for a couple of weeks has caused them to change their shape slightly. So I cut a strip of plastic off the end of this component and then used a soldering iron to weld it onto this ridge in order to create a tighter fit. The rubber seals are now fitting so tightly that there is no leak at all. My blobfish-style mug is finally working like it's supposed to, and it's almost as comfortable as the older version. Contigo should redesign this lid and sell a replacement, and they should make it fit the existing mugs so that we don't have to throw these away and buy new ones. Contigo is not the only company that makes leaky lids. The spout on this LifeFactory water bottle started to leak after a couple years when it was in almost every position except the one it's in right now. Perhaps the leak occurred because the small O-ring that makes a watertight seal had become worn, or perhaps the swiveling spout was no longer fitting tightly in its socket. I found a position that the spout would not leak, and then I used a glue gun to lock it at that position so that the spout cannot move. That defeats the purpose of having a movable spout that seals the water inside, but it's better than a dribbling spout. I purchased this Norpro grain grinder that somebody had returned to Amazon in order to roll oats, but after a couple years it failed. I opened it up and discovered that a small flap of metal had torn off of the cover. The cover has two of these flaps, one of which is not used. This is what it looks like. My finger is next to it, which shows how small and delicate it is. Norpro boasts about their products on their Facebook page, but I would say their boasting is just typical business propaganda. It's common for industries to lance sheets of metal to create flaps and other protrusions, but engineers should ensure that the flaps can handle the stresses they will encounter. Fortunately, I could easily fix this by putting a tiny bolt and nut through the hole. Here is a view of the inside of the cover. The manufacturer should have done something like this rather than lancing a small, delicate flap. Our technology improves every year, and many Japanese and Taiwanese products get better every year, but American industries seem to be deteriorating. What is our problem? Regardless of how you prefer to explain this sad situation, I suggest you find the courage to discuss and experiment with improvements to our economic system and society.